Hi, this is Brandon from Talk Tech, back here again with another video. Today I'm going to be covering QEMU, KVM, and installing them. This will apply to an Ubuntu or a Debian-based system, but keep in mind that the principles here can be applied to any Linux distribution. Just keep in mind that you may have to do some searching for the name of the package that's going to be associated with the particular distribution. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first off, I wanted to kind of give a little explanation of QEMU and KVM. So KVM is a virtualization module for the Linux kernel, allowing it to function as a hypervisor. Primarily handles CPU and memory communication. This is already baked into the kernel, so that's not something that you have to worry about installing, at least on most modern Linux distributions. QEMU is a machine emulator that can run operating systems and programs for one machine on a different machine. It emulates many hardware resources, including disks and network cards. Can also be used to emulate CPUs, but is primarily done by KVM. That is primarily done by KVM, and it can also emulate many different CPU architectures. And of course, this module and this application will use the host hardware to virtualize the guest system. So now we're here on Ubuntu 22.04.1. So you want to make sure that your CPU itself actually supports virtualization. This is not usually an issue with most modern day CPUs, but keep in mind what you're going to be doing here is you're not only checking to see if your CPU supports it, but you're also checking to see if it's actually going to be enabled. Now, this is going to be AMD-V for AMD CPUs and Intel-VT for Intel CPUs. You can check this pretty easily. You can do the ls CPU command, and then we'll just go over here and do a grep, and then we'll do a dash tac I, and then we're going to go ahead and put virtualization in there. We're also going to put a colon at the end because we're looking for something very, very specific in there. And look at there. This is an AMD CPU, so we can see that it is listed as AMD-V. Now, if this were an Intel CPU, you would see the Intel VT in this output. So that's how you know it's enabled. If you're not getting that output, then what you'll need to do is you'll need to consult your motherboard or system manufacturer to see if that is an option that you can go ahead and enable in the BIOS of your device. All right, so, and you'll also want to make sure that before you start installing any of the stuff for virtualization, is you'll want to make sure that your system is going to be up to date, which is pretty easy to do. Just sudo apt update, and then we'll do an and to go ahead and run these two commands simultaneously. Sudo apt upgrade, and then we'll just tack a yes, tack a Y on there. We'll input our password. All right, and for my particular operating system right now, everything is already up to date, so there's nothing that needs to be done here. So now you're going to have to install multiple packages in order to be able to go ahead and able to get virtualization working and be able to interact with it in a way that's going to be meaningful. Now, these 5 packages, you'll see most literature out there referring to this first one, which is the QEMU package, as just QEMU-KVM, which is the primary KVM, QEMU package. This actually installs, in pretty much most distributions, is going to install a package called QEMU-system-x86. The next one you're going to have to install is going to be libvirt-daemon-system. This is going to provide libvirt-daemon, which creates, manages, and destroys VMs. This will allow you to run in the background so that you're not having to enable it every single time that you log into your system. Now, keep in mind you can go ahead and activate it every time manually if you want, but it gives you that flexibility. The next package is going to be libvirt-clients. This provides the Versh utility, which is going to be used for managing and interacting with our VMs. That's something that you'll see in multiple videos to come, multiple different times for multiple different things that we'll look to accomplish when managing our virtual machines. The next one is going to be the bridge utils, which provides utilities for configuring virtual network bridges, which is how your virtual machine is going to communicate with the outside world. This also gives you the brctl command, which is a command that can be used to create bridges manually. Typically, with when you install all these packages, you're actually through, like, Versh is already gonna have a default network, and it will already have a bridge that's associated with that, which is usually VIR1. VIRBR0, I think. Once we get it installed, I'll be able to show you precisely. The other one is that you're going to go ahead and install the virt inst, which is VIRTINST. This utility is used to create and edit VMs, includes the command virt clone, virt install, and virt xml. Virt clone clones an existing machine, virt install creates a new machine, and virt xml, which easily edits libvirt domains. And when we're talking about using QEMU and KVM, especially when specifically with Versh, is you're gonna see them virtual machine referred to as a domain. So during this series of videos, I'm going to be using those terms interchangeably, as well as other things. I might just refer to it as a machine or anything like that. So just leave a comment below if anything ever gets confusing, and then I can make sure to clarify that for you. The next one is going to be the virt viewer, which is going to be virt-viewer. This is actually a means for interacting, graphically with a client virtual machine. You got to make sure that otherwise you would not be able to interact with it graphically. And the final package that we're going to be installing is going to be virt manager. Virt manager is essentially like your graphical front-end client that's going to allow you to interact and manage virtual machines. If you've ever used VirtualBox, it's essentially kind of like the same thing, but, like, of course the back end side of it is different than VirtualBox. And keep in mind that this is not going to be just like a clone or anything like that. It's principally the same thing as VirtualBox. It's a really great tool, can make your life a whole heck of a lot easier, especially like if you're doing tons and tons of work, especially adding things, taking things away from virtual machines, and things of that sort. So these can all be installed using the sudo apt install command. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. So we're going to do a sudo apt install, and then we're going to do, and I'm just going to use even though with the QEMU KVM, you can do it one of two ways. You can do QEMU-KVM, or you can do the QEMU system x86. I'm just going to do the QEMU/KVM just because it's shorter. Makes it a little bit more condensed here as we're typing this command out. Let's do libvirt-daemon and then system. All right, and you want to make sure that you're doing the libvirt-daemon system because you want it to be available system-wide. All right, and then we're going to do libvirt clients. All right, and then we're going to do bridge utils. All right, we're going to do virt inst, and then we're going to do virt viewer, and then we're going to do virt manager. All right, and I'm not going to tack a Y on there because I want to show you something here. Now, let me see here if it actually shows. Yeah, see, here you go. See, note, it says selecting QEMU system x86 instead of QEMU. So this right here, this is kind of a little bit of a lesson in Linux. Is it's really important to be able to kind of understand, like, not to kind of, but to understand the output that it's giving you, because you're going to be given useful information, especially like if you're having some kind of error. Like, say for example, like if you needed to emulate another architecture, and that architecture may not be supported by QEMU system x86. Maybe you're trying to, do like, I don't know, was it Power PC? I think is what the old one, or Power CPU or something like that from the late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in there, or maybe like an ARM processor. Those may not be available using this package. So it's why you always want to make sure you're cognizant of the output that is being provided so that you understand what is going on, and then you can troubleshoot stuff as necessary. So let's go ahead and just give it a Y, and we'll let it install here. The install here shouldn't take too terribly long. All right, great. So now everything's installed. Now I want to show you something here that can help you kind of get a better understanding of the packages that are available through apt. So what you can do is you can actually do an apt info, and let's just do QEMU system x86. And you see down here, it's got this yellow N, and it says there is one additional record. Please use TAC A. All right, so let's just go ahead and do that, and then we'll be able to make sure we've got all the information in regards to this, and it'll tell you about it. It tells you the version, who maintains it, the installed size, any bugs where you can access those. It's got dependencies. It's making other suggestions for things to be installed. It breaks these right here, replaces these. This is a home page, download size. The app sources, and then one of the things that can be super helpful here is that it gives you a description, which it says QEMU full system emulation binaries. QEMU is a fast processor emulator. Currently, the package supports i386 and x86 64 emulation. By using dynamic translation, it achieves reasonable speed. While easy port on a new host CPUs, the package provides the full system emulation binaries. The following hardware, i386 and x86 64. In the system emulates mode, QEMU emulates a full system, including a processor and various peripherals, and enables easier testing debugging. It can also use the provided virtual hosting in several virtual machines on a single server. The x86 host hardware. On x86 host hardware, this package also enables KVM kernel virtual machine usage on systems which support it. And I'm sorry that I kind of read through that, but I just wanted to show you that it gives you a bunch of information. So this is super helpful, and I know I've kind of gone off on a tangent here, but the goal is to try to be as helpful with these videos as possible. And I've said this in the last video. I'm no expert. I'm always learning. I'm gonna get things wrong. I'm going to get things right. I'm a human being, so, this is how you learn. All right, so let's go ahead and continue here. Now, once all the necessary packages have been installed, you want to make sure that you add your user to the libvirt group, because if you're doing that, it's going to make it so much easier for you to run the commands that are associated with virtual machines, which, your virsh commands, your virt install and all that kind of stuff. You won't have to use it with sudo, and you won't have to put your password in and stuff like that. So it'll make managing these things a whole heck of a lot easier. Now, there will be times when you're doing some of these commands where you'll have to give it a sudo just because of the way that command is interacting with the system and or hardware. Some part of that process will require escalated privileges that are not covered by virsh or virt install or whatever. So if you ever get an error using any of these commands, after you've put yourself in the libvirt group, is go ahead and try it with sudo, and that usually fixes the problems. I haven't really run into any other ones that were not errors that were clearly spelled out inside of the output. So let's go ahead and do that. And the way you can do that is just do sudo user mod, and you're going to give it an A and a capital G. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and put libvirt, and then we're going to put our user. All right, there we go. All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and do user mod. We're going to do if I could type here. All right, I just want to kind of be able to show you what that command is doing since we're using it. The user, it allows you to, the user mod command allows you to kind of change a lot of characteristics of a user. In this particular case, I'm not going to get into all the specifics of the command because it's just a there's a lot that goes into it. There's the two options that we're using here are the lowercase a and the capital G. The lowercase a is going to append the user to supplemental groups. So you want to make sure that if you want to add them to a group but not replace their primary group, then you'll use the a command. And that kind of feeds in with the TAC G option, which it's going to add them to different supplementary groups. Now, if you want, don't use the small g because that's gonna force it to use that group as its new primary group. So make sure that before you run a command, make sure that you understand exactly what it's doing, so that you don't run into a situation where you break stuff, and then spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure out what it is that you did. So. So now you can just type in groups, and it should tell you right here. And it's not telling us here, and this is pretty common because I've just done it. And usually what you'll have to do is you'll either have to log out and log back in, or if that doesn't work, then reboot the system to go ahead and allow it to update. I think, let me try, there's another command you can use to see groups. It's ID. And let's see if it's there. It may not actually be there. Okay, and then the other thing that you can do if you want to check is you can go to the cat and then Etsy group, and then we're gonna just do a grep. We're gonna do B. And if you go down here to the libvirt group right here, you can see that I'm there. All right, so cool. That we can see that it's taken place. We're probably just gonna have to reboot and come back in. I'm not gonna do that for this particular video just because we don't need to sit through a reboot. All right, so now the next thing that we want to make sure that we do is we want to make sure that the libvirt daemon is running. So let's just do a system ctl status libvirtd. All right, perfect, and it's running. So on the way that, what this tells us right now that it's actually running currently, the next thing that we want to check is to see if it's enabled on startup. So that can be done with system ctl. We're going to do is enabled, and then libvirtd. Yep, and there we go. If it says enabled there, that means that it's enabled to start on start. If it says disabled, then it is not set up on start. Now, if say for whatever reason the distribution that you're using doesn't automatically turn it on, and it doesn't automatically set it to auto start when you boot up your system, you can easily do that with system ctl start libvirtd, and then it's going to ask you to put in a password. All right, and so yeah, just tack a sudo onto anytime you're changing things with systemctl. Is you're gonna need to add a sudo on there. I'm also gonna show you the enable. Just do an enable libvirtd. Oh, whoops. Perfect. Yeah. See, there we go. We've gone through those commands right there. That'll make sure. This is primarily how it's done if you're using a systemd based distribution. If you were using on a sysinit system, you would use the, I'm just going to type it out here for you, service libvirtd and status. It still works here with mine as well, but if you don't have systemd installed, then this is probably the other way to do it. And then I believe to start it, it's just service libvirtd start, and then I believe for enable to enable. Just if you're not sure, then what you can do is you can do what is that service? Let me see if it has a help command. Help. Oh yeah. Yeah, so you'll probably want to do for this one, you'll probably want to do just take a look at the man page and it should go ahead and tell you how to use that command. But yeah, so that is how you'll go ahead and get that enabled. All right, now if you want to make sure that everything is good with KVM, there is a command that you can use, and that is virt host check, and that'll just kind of make sure that everything is, whoops, I think it's, is that, I guess with this package it's not installed. Let me see here. Let me check something here. I may have missed a command here, so bear with me here for just a second. I can't remember if this is a separate package or not. Let's see here. Yes, okay, actually let's try virt. Yeah, there we go. My apologies for that. I had the command incorrect here. All right, so yeah, see, that's going to go ahead and make sure that everything is, running the way that it needs to. Now you'll see some fails on there. For this particular, for my purposes and all the purposes of these videos, those fails really aren't going to make any difference. And there's got these warnings; those aren't going to have any impact on what we're doing here. Now, if you want more information, then what I would recommend doing is I would recommend going and Googling these to get more information. Now, one thing I can tell you is that these are two different types of emulation. As we've got QEMU and then there's LXC. So LXC isn't something that we're going to be focusing on for the purposes of what we're doing here. We're going to be focusing on QEMU. So, all right, well, that's going to cover installing it. And all that kind of stuff. In the next video, I'll actually be going into creating a virtual machine using virt install. So be on the lookout for that. Go ahead and make sure that if you're like the content, want to make sure that you're you can see these videos. Go ahead and make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. If you like the video, go ahead and give it the thumbs up. If you didn't like it, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. Any questions, feedback, or kind words, go ahead and put those in the comments. I thank you very much for your time today, and have a great day.